Hello, everybody. My name is Sara Hurley. I'm here today with two amazing artists, Rojin Shafi and Alireza Husseini. Very, very nice to meet you, virtually anyway. We are talking about two exhibitions that's running at the moment until 15th of December. And one exhibition, a solo exhibition by Rojin Shafi called 487 Seconds. And the other exhibition is called I Was There by Alireza Husseini. Thank you very much for taking time today and be with me and speak with me. I greatly appreciate this, and I'm looking forward to speak with you and get to know more about you and your work. If I may, I wanted to start with Rojin, please. If you can introduce yourself, it would be great, Rojin. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. My name is Rojin Shafi. I'm 28 years old, born and raised in Iran. And it's been 8 years that I've been living in Canada, back and forth between Toronto and Montreal. I'm a multidisciplinary artist.
That's great, thank you. And Alireza, can you introduce yourself as well, please, and tell us more about yourself? Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Alireza Husseini. I'm 31. I was born in Afghanistan, Kandahar, and I raised in Iran, Mashhad. And since November 2015, I live in Hanover, Germany, and I'm a fine art photographer.
Amazing, thank you very much. I just wanted to ask you if you can tell me what you actually, Rojin, what are you presenting in your exhibition? And tell me more about the concept that you have picked for this exhibition, please. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. I have two video works at this exhibition. One called The Toaster I Used to Live In, and one called There. I start with the first one because it's an older work. The Toaster I Used to Live In, it's the story of four Iranian girls with different mentality, different family and religious background. And they express their opinion about having sex before marriage. And it's kind of like a hybrid film, like they call it these days hybrid films, videos. But for me, it's more like documentary, experimental video. And the other one is definitely a hybrid with like kind of like surrealistic location, and it's called There. And it's about there is an interviewee and interviewer in this video. And basically the interviewee is in a like unknown place that she calls it home, and the interviewer like try to manipulate the interviewee and try to ask her to tell the things that the interviewer wants. And at the end we see like all those manipulation, how change the character during the 7 minutes that we're watching. And at the end this is the interviewee who's leaving the place, not the interviewer. It's a little bit hard to explain this this piece because like there is a story, but there's not something that I can like exactly say what is happening, because there are a lot of like elements, there are a lot of concepts involved. And I'm sure you watched it, so we can go one by one and I can explain that.
Yeah, that's definitely. I just I think it's specifically the end of it, the end of the video there, which I think is your latest video, if I'm not mistaken. So it is basically, she is frustrated and she's losing it, but at the same time she's trying because she's been told to keep the smile on. She is sort of angry and frustrated, but at the same time that fake smile that she's trying to hold in her face is painful. But it made me laugh at the same time, just having lived sort of like having had that experience to sort of in a society that's forced you to not be yourself, to not actually talk about your real truth. I think you executed very well that sense, that feeling at the end, specifically for me. Thank you very much. We talk about the toaster I used to live in later as well. But Alireza, I just wanted to ask you the same question. If you can tell me a bit more about what are you presenting in your exhibition, I Was There, and what is the concept behind it, please? Thank you.
I Was There is a work of 3 years research and thinking into the history of Europe or Germany. The time that I started, it came with a small name for me. Actually, I started to photography this project for an online platform called Upgradation, and when I listened to this word and when I thought about it, I was thinking about the action of upgrading or upgradation. When you upgrade something, for example, a device, sometimes nothing changes. Sometimes it gets better, sometimes it gets worse. And I can't forget this time. It was a really extremely cold day at March of 2018. I was walking to one of my favorite streets in Hanover. It calls Limmer, and I saw 3 postcards from Hanover, which I have them by myself as well here. And I looked at one of them, for example, this one. There are some people sitting at a place in front of opera in Hanover, and I just find out that nothing has changed. But at the same time, I was looking at another postcard, which is at the same place, opera, and it's a photo from army of Nazis, and I find out that I can't see something like this anymore. And this was a start for me, that I just wanted to go there and hold the photo and see what has changed, what has upgraded. And the base meaning of this concept to me is how our actions and our decisions can affect in the future. Because I believe when we can looking in the past or we can looking in the history, we can see the future, and it affects on our actions and activities. So I started to find much more photos, not only from bookshops. I tried to contact with some really good archives, and I started with my city, Hanover, and I continued to Berlin, and then I went to Dresden, and then I went some other cities of Germany until I finished.
Brilliant, thank you very much. It's really interesting as well to see the pictures and the way you have for both of you. I think the process of research is part of your working process, and it's very interesting. I would like to know that's how is your research, Rojin, and I understand that you actually, I would like to know more about Alireza as well. How did you actually manage, maybe we start with Alireza first and we go to Rojin. How did you, when you collected these photos, I just, what was that process of going and finding the places, and how did you actually manage to do this? Because I can imagine it involves some research, unless you actually know that city completely inside out. So I'd like to know a little bit more about how do you do your research in your work, please? Thank you.
Since I started the photo shooting from Hanover, I went to Hanover Historical Museum. They have an archive about 2 million photos from Hanover. So I got lucky. I got a place. I got a system, and I could search. I remember it was a week that I was searching from photos and photos, and I was selecting some locations because I really. There were some pictures I found out really good, but there were no information, and I didn't want to use it because I need an exact location. Where is it exactly? Because I had to go there at the exact location and photograph it. But later, when it gets more bigger, I had to contact with other archives. Mostly they were online, some archive websites. They were expensive because I had to buy the photos because I wanted to use them. And I think, I'm not really sure, but I think I reached about 10,000 photos and hours of documentaries, some books, especially about during and before the Second World War, which was about how was the activities of countries, especially inside Germany. Unfortunately, now the project is finished. Unfortunately, I really wanted to go and find some photos from outside of Germany, like in Auschwitz, for example, or in France. But at the time that I was working on this project, I didn't allow to use Germany because I didn't have any paper. That was really, really good. That was really good experience because when I was a kid, I really don't like history, but now I love history. I'm crazy about it.
That sounds great. That's a good change of heart. Brilliant. Rojin, I'd like to know more about your research because I know that is part of great part of your work too. So how do you do the research? That's what is the process of your research within your work, please? Thank you.
Yeah, before I start this, I have to mention that like when I saw Alireza's photos in real space, like in the actual size, like the pain was much worse than what you see in the small screens or like on your phone, on your laptop. So not for myself, but I really encourage everyone who's watching this video to go to the gallery and see the photos because like they're amazing in like in terms of like art pieces, but like the pain is like it's so much different from what you see like digitally. And then so about my research more than like relying on reading is more about it's more like about observation of their daily life. Like I love looking at people on the streets, or like how they're reacting in their like normal ordinary life. I remember when I was I think I was 19 and I was living in Iran alone, and I had to take one semester off from the university for some reason. So I had plenty of time to deal with, and it was a very difficult time of my life. However, I remember that like the metro station in north of Tehran, Tajrish, was just launched. So I swear that, I mean, I have all the papers, so I don't lie, but every single day I used to take that metro, like subway, whatever that they call it in different accents, subway, tube, metro, whatever that is called. And then used to like take that train going to the center of Tehran, Enqilab station. And I used to just looking at the people on the subway, and I used to take notes. And then in the afternoon, I used to write every single thing that I was like observing on the subway station. So I would say for 4 months I was doing that, and after that I don't say that like I kept that routine like for like especially when I moved to Canada, because well, in the societies like Iran, what is happening even like on the street, it's like there are stories behind that. But when you come to like to the Western countries, like everything is much more hidden than what is happening in front of you. And then I kept that the habit of observation. So I'm looking at like everyone's life, and especially like I go through the experiences that I had as a woman, especially like because I lived in Iran, but like I left Iran when I was 20. So I really felt the society there, how the society and the social and political issues affected my life, and I'm comparing them with my experiences here, like in and my life in Canada. So these are like all comes to everyday notes, and like when my people, my friends, they say something very random like about their everyday life, I just take notes, and I don't say that I go through those notes when I want to make a work. I feel like it's a process of time and like building them in my memory and try to digest them, and then a transformation happens and they become like a piece of video, like photo installation. And I would say that like what I try to do is like, because they're mostly about like personal experiences, I just try to be very honest and transparent. And when it comes to them, I never like scared of sharing my own experiences when it comes to that. And like, for example, especially in the work there that I'm presenting at the gallery, like it all comes from like, of course, observation of news on the media in Iran, but it's mostly, I feel like it's back to my memory during my school time in Iran, and especially because I was born and raised in Isfahan, which is a very religious city. And I remember that like when we were traveling outside of Iran, my mom was like, I remember like I was 8 years old, something like that. I was like, don't mention that I didn't wear hijab, like, or don't mention that we did this or we did that at school. So I feel like what I was experiencing, I couldn't express those experiences in my everyday life, which was, I was an 9-year-old kid going to the school. And when I wanted to share those experiences, excitements with my friends or with my teachers, I would have like totally opposite reactions. So more than, I would say, more than what like the media and like what I am like right now watching on Iran's TV, all these things, I feel like it's mostly back to my childhood experiences. And so yeah, this one, even like it has a story, it's like it has another what is it called, another structure of like what the story that I told you. But I know that like deep down inside of me, it comes from those experiences.
Yeah, 100%. You actually mentioned a really good point, and I want to ask a question to from both of you about you're both migrants, so you have immigrated. Alireza has double, so you have migrated as a child and then as an adult, young adult. So I'd like to know your experience within that transition that you actually have gone from a society to another society. Do you think that your voice, you are yourself? Do you think as an artist you actually say what you want to say in the current society that you live in? What is the role of artists in a society in general from your point of view, please? I start with Alireza, I think, if you don't mind, Rojin, please. Thank you.
It's funny, I thought about this before. When it started before I was born. When my family were in Afghanistan, my father was a teacher in a German university in Kandahar, and when the war started, I think it was the USSR, they had to switch places, and when I was born, they decided to travel to Iran because that was the best opportunity at that time. It wasn't a really good time for me as a guy from Afghanistan who was living there. I all the time was supposed to pretend that I'm not from Afghanistan because it's not easy. And in one long story short, I would say it's a nightmare. I don't want to go inside it because the other side of it is more important. I was all the time as a runner because I had to run from this country to other country. But when I got to Germany, I found out that I just got tired of being running. What's going to happen, for example, if it's going to be another war in this country? I can't run again. Where should I go? I'm 31. I'm just tired of it. I can stand and fight, but I'm not that kind of person to hold a gun. But I have my own gun. I have a camera. I can fight with that. So this project for me was a start to fight about racism. And my favorite audience are the people who decide for this society. And I was talking about it today. Today was an exhibition from one of my friends in the town hall. And I was telling him that I really love to have an exhibition in your parliament because they are my base audience, because they have to see that what happened before, and we can see the consequences of the decisions of people from the past, and maybe we can make it better for people who are refugees or born as a refugee like me, wouldn't have this phobia all the time.
Thank you very much, Alireza, and on behalf of all Iranians, I apologize, and I'm sorry for your experience. And it is so sad, especially nowadays. I think we get to talk about it more and shine more light about what's like hidden sort of like things that's happening in your country that's I'm personally not proud of. And yeah. So thank you very much, and I do hope that you get to that European Parliament one day and present it and be a voice of many people who are still struggling with their identity, who are still struggling to be themselves. But you, unfortunately, you found your tool, your gun. Rojin, if you tell me more about if you want to, within the society, what is the role of an artist? What's as a migrant as well? So because I think if you have lived within two different societies. So how do you find that difference? You talked a little bit about how it's changed, like basically you for example, in Iran, it was more encouraging for you to people watch or do some of your research, but in a Canadian society, I think maybe there is a distance, maybe you don't have that sort of like connection or the sort of like idea to watch them, because maybe that's not inspiring you. So I like to know how, and have the Canadian society given you the voice that you were looking for example?
Well, yeah, so what is important here is that I wouldn't say 100%, but is that like you basically can make whatever you want. I would say whatever you want. So it's not 100%, but it's just you're allowed to share those stories, and that they're like you kept them for years and years and years. So, and I feel like some I don't call them ordinary people, but like people who are not artists, they rather to digest those experiences. I don't know, they change their mindset, or like I know like it's not a shame, it's like part of our routine that everyone visiting a therapist, or like they're digesting all those things with their therapist, or what, like they find a solution for that. But like we express, or like we kind of share those experiences, we have to, or like that's what I am doing with my art. So, and I feel like Canada is like a platform. It's like it's a space that you can express those feelings, and you can give life to those past experiences, and then share it with other people. But what I don't like about my life as an artist here is that like everything is about some labels, and those labels give artists direction, and you have to be very, 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 very conscious about those labels that like the Western art politics show you. Well, there is freedom, like you can make whatever you want, but there is a like hidden direction that it's kind of like direct you. Like, for example, me, like I have one label from Middle East, another label, woman, another label, immigrant. So yeah, if you do this, you get more recognition. So, and like it encourage people to kind of like redirect their mentality, and kind of like having I don't say everyone, so I don't generalize, no, but I would say like the situation, or like the ambiance is like very encouraging for you. Oh, okay, so what if I do this and this and that, so I can show my work there, or like I can do this. So I feel like the piece of art is all about honesty and transparency. And if you're not conscious about the politics and the directions that they try to inject to you and your art, that's the worst part of living in these kind of societies. And we know that a lot of politics are behind this. And in terms of making the art, it's like 100% there's freedom. But about the presentation of the artwork is like, I would say 70% is more important, the artwork itself. That's why like, that's the role of curators, institutions, like cultural centers. So so it's important. So, and if there's these politics, sometimes it doesn't allow like a piece of art to be shown.
Yeah, and I think it's a good place to actually mention about the fact that you were amazing and very brave, and it's just in Asia Now for speaking out. I think everybody should admire that act. And your speech was great. And I think that shows the characteristic of the artist that you are, to not stay quiet when another person's voice has been eliminated or taken out or erased. And you took that opportunity to speak out about it, while many other artists might not. They might have had that opportunity, but they didn't. So congratulations to you on that. I think what would you just quickly onto that matter? What would because you didn't take questions afterwards, but what would you like they tell you? What would be the question or response that you would have liked to hear after your speech about the work Peykan Arts, Car and Alireza Husseini's being taken out from Asia Now?
Like, what would I expect them to?
What would be the answer that you like to hear from them? Because I don't know, the video I have seen is just like basically you give your speech, you refuse to answer questions, and that's it. So I like to know what would be the outcome that you actually really wanted to achieve with that speech, and did you achieve it? And like, what would be the questions that you would like to hear from them after that speech, if that makes sense?
Yeah, kind of like, but the most important part of what I did, more than like what is on this side and what is on the other side, was like to raise the questions. Like, if this is something that is your question, you should ask, like, and when you have a platform and then you are there already, you're there, and like you have something very, very powerful as an artist, is your piece of art. And also that like this is your art, will let you to be there. You travel with your art, or sometimes your art travel without you. And sometimes your art is like visiting like the countries, the places that you've never been to. And so this is like something, I would say, yes, we give life to a piece of art, but that piece of art gives you power. And like, so this is our position as an artist, a power, not in a position that I would say that like you can do whatever you want, but like I would say that you have your own space. So I feel like everyone has their own like space, and it's like you never lose that space. So I feel like the most important thing for me, rather than like hearing the answer or like what would be the reactions, would be to raise the questions, to raise the subject. And I think, and I didn't, to be honest, think about the consequence or like what I want to hear or what would be the reaction. So the moment was important for me, and I did that.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. That was a really good answer to a like funny question. Thank you. So one of the concepts that it is quite mutual is both of you are working with is the time. I like to get to understand a little bit more about your perspective on time, because I know in both of your work, you're actually presenting a sort of like time in different stages at the same time. So I like to know about your idea, your perspective, your concept of time that you're presenting in your work, please. If Alireza would like to start, and then we go to Rojin, that would be great. Thank you.
This project for me was like a time travel, because it was important to get the feeling. And I select, for example, I select the photos from the city of, my favorite city of Germany, Dresden. It's one of the most beautiful cities in Germany and one of the most racist cities in Germany. This city got damaged the most in Second World War. I selected my photos and I traveled to the city, and it was night and I wanted to start photography the day after. I was walking around the city and it was really original, something new for me that I heard about it before, that the last day of World War in Germany was rain of bombing in Dresden. And I could hear it. It was terrifying. And I could feel it. And it helped me to understand the situation, to walk through what was happening at this street, for example, for 50, 70 years, and what happened to the people who were screaming, what happened to the people who were shouting at people, what happened to the people. And well, it's hard, but on the other side, it's good to understand. I have another example. Now I only have some of photos from Hanover. This one photo from a street from the south side of Hanover, which completely destroyed. Wow. Completely destroyed. And when I was taking this photo, or when I was to a camp of Jewish people which were torturing from Nazis, it called Bergen-Belsen, called KZ Bergen-Belsen, that's the name of the place. The camp is completely destroyed, but we had a special GPS and we could find the exact place of the photos, and it was terrifying. I did experience this time travel, and time was the most important thing, and at the same time was meaningless.
Amazing. What an experience. Yeah. And I can see that in your photos. And as Rojin said, I've seen them because I'm in another city. I'm not able to actually personally visit the exhibition, but it is definitely going to have different effects when you actually see it in person. But I can see that in the photos that I have seen on a screen. And now that you're talking about it, it amplifies that sense, that sensation that I received, and it's brilliant. Thank you for bringing that forward. It's great. Rojin, you as well. You work with time, with concept of time. I've seen not only in the two videos that you are actually showing in this exhibition, but in your previous videos as well. Time, I think, is one of the things that is repeated within your videos, if I'm not mistaken. And I'd like to know more about your perspective on time, because I know, I think it was I Wait for the Time, the video, that's you actually presenting past, present and future at the same time. And I think in there as well, I feel like this, that there is a start and there is a finish and there is a future. So the concept of time, again, it is very sort of like forefront of the concept you're presenting, in my point of view. So I'd like to know more about the concept, your perspective of time that's you're actually using in your work as well, please. Thank you.
Yeah, so the concept of time is like very, very strong in my works, because I deal with that personally a lot. And it all comes from my experiences, my personal feelings after my immigration. Especially that piece, for the people who haven't watched that one, there are 3 clocks that they've been stopped at 12, and there is a performer who's pulling all those 3 clocks and walk on the snow, which I would say that was my experience as a newcomer in Canada. And the 3 clocks, as you mentioned, they represent past, future, and present. And the reason that they've been stopped at 12 is because 12 is a time of change, as it's like it's from AM to PM. It's like everything like change after 12, but they were stopped at 12, so they don't move. And that was my experience when I came to Canada, and because I felt like, okay, so I have no past, I am nobody here, and I don't feel the present, so I don't see any future for myself here. And it got worse when after 8 months I traveled to Iran, because like as Proust says, when you leave a place, your mind stopped in that time, in that place. But time changed people and like locations. When you come back to those locations and to those people, you expect them the last experience that you had in those locations with those people, because you miss that period, that process. So after 8 months or 9 months, I went back to Iran, because I was like, no, like I don't want to leave here. So like I want to go back to Iran, as I did for 2 years. I was living there on my own. When I went there, like the worst thing happened when I traveled after 9 months, because like my friends, they were the same people, but like everything, like, and especially in the society like Iran, that like every day is different, so it has like different impacts on people, so they change. And also like I was like, also like I couldn't like even communicate with my friends, and it got worse after time and time that I traveled there. So I would say like time is something very, very strong in my emotions, because I deal with that. I still have a lot of conflicts with that, and like for a really like personal, it's a very, very personal choice that it's been like, for example, 5 years that I haven't traveled there, because I feel like, okay, I'd rather to have an idea about the last experience that I had there, rather than like going back there and change that like dream, like, or idea that I have from there. So I would say I'd rather my mind to be stopped in that time, and I'd rather to have like those, like the last image that I had from those locations and people. And I would say that's the same thing about everywhere. So even if I leave Canada and then come back after, I don't know, 2 years, 3 years, that would be the same thing. So it's not about like Iran or Canada or like Europe, but like in countries like Iran, it's like because of everything that is happening in the everyday life, maybe that's faster, and like that the process that you miss, it's gonna be more shocking. And I remember, like, for example, my sister was telling my mom that I don't remember exactly how old my grandfather was when we left Iran. But my mom traveled there after 5 years, and then when she saw her father, she was like, I'm shocked. And my sister, like, she was 20, I guess, and she said, Mom, because you saw all those 5 years that he got older in one day.
Yeah.
And so that's why I feel like time is like, it's very, very strong in our everyday life.
Yeah. There is, it is this analogy that no one person can enter the same river twice, because the river is different, the person is different, so everything is changing. That's brilliant. Thank you very much. Rojin, if you want to explain, we'll talk a little bit more about the toaster I used to live in, because I think we didn't pay enough attention to that video. If you want to tell more about the work and what you're presenting, and just generally, I'd like to know, why did you put there? And I know, because I've seen it, I see the relevance, but I like, from your point of view, I'd like to know, why did you put the toaster I used to live in with there next to each other for this exhibition, please? And I think the poster of your actual exhibition comes from the toaster I used to live in. Is that right?
Exactly.
Perfect.
I would say the reason that they're like both in this exhibition would be more curational question, but I can answer based on the title that there is in this exhibition, that is called 480, how many?
7.
Oh, 7 seconds of Persian tales. And I feel like it's I would say it's very, very interesting, because the toaster is like one of my early works, and it's actually I made that after my second trip, after my immigration to Canada, to Iran. And there is the last thing that, like, the last experience that I express in my work about my home country that I had to left. The toaster, like the story behind that, rather than like thinking about asking those girls like to express their opinion, their feelings about sex before marriage, it was more about, again, personal experience that I had with my friends, that when I went back there, everyone was talking about relationships, and everyone was like, relationships and like sexual relations was like something, a very, very strong subject, rather than like talking about themselves. So everything was about their like personal life, rather than focusing like, I, as I said, I don't want to generalize, but like they were like, we didn't talk about what, for example, their friends want to do in the future, for their career, for, I don't know, for whatever. Everything was around this subject. And rather than thinking about making a work about this, based on the conversations that I had with them, I was like, no, I have to record this, because it was like an attack to me, because everyone was like talking about this. Again, because of the distance that I had from them, I could recognize these strong subject. So that's why I wanted to record that. And I would say, I'm sorry, what was the other question you asked? Did I answer?
It was just to tell me more about it.
So yeah, and
I can see that, so sort of like the language has changed. So there is 2021, and the toaster, I think you've done it in 2016. So I feel a more innocence, a more sort of like the conversation that it's more themselves that they're talking about in the toaster. And in there, it's just like, what has changed? What do you think has changed within the language that you're presenting in there and the toaster I used to live in? Because I feel, I don't know if you agree with it, but I feel like they were more themselves. They were talking, they were more sort of like free to talk about what they think about, because it is very, very truthful, and it comes across very truthful and honest. And but it is sort of like the opposite point of there. So how do you see that transition from 2016 to 2021? That's the way that you are actually talking about the concept in your work has changed slightly. So I'd like to if you want to talk about more about that as well, please.
That's a very interesting point, because I didn't think about it, but it's very interesting that you brought it up like that. I would say that like in the first 2 or 3 years of my practice, it was more, everything was like more direct about my personal feelings, rather than like I have the control of how to manipulate them and present them in other ways. As you can see in toaster, like even like the name come from the, it's very, I mean, for me it has a very direct meaning, but I always explain that and people like it, because for me is like toaster is, it's a very, very weird appliance in the kitchen, because I remember I was 6 years old, that like my mom traveled to Germany and she brought this very small toaster, and that one of the one that you can put toasts, because like we because of course our traditional bread is, it's not toast. So anyway, so we had this toaster, and like we always have struggle, like, do we have to put it on 2? If it was at 2, it wasn't fully toast. If it was at 3, it was burned. So it was kind of, you didn't know, like you never know like what would be happen, what is the perfect temperature for, or like number for those breads to be toasted on the toaster. So that's why like I always had these conflicts with toaster. I still have, because like I don't know, still like we have all the, right now in our kitchen we have this small oven toaster that like they're not like toasters, but I always like sometimes I put it on like it's on random, so that I change it. So I feel like that was my own experience when I was in Iran, because sometimes like you felt like the joy, and they feel like, okay, all those limitations brought a lot of like sacred lives, and then you were like enjoying like doing all these things, but at the same time it's like when you were like out, you were realizing like, wow, so like how it damaged my life, all these things. So that was and that was my response, like the name was my response to those to the conversations that I had with those girls. And then that was like, as I said, that was more direct. But when it came to there, I would say that I wanted to explore the world of narrative words, and I wanted to start writing the stories, and then like film them, like working with actors and all these things. One of the reasons for that is because I'm not there, I'm not in Iran, like to be able to work on documentaries. So then I have to write those experiences on the paper, and manipulate them in a way that the other people, they can feel it as well. So that's why like a little bit from like a direct documentary, like a little bit moved to fiction narrative world, which I don't, well, I always have like the feeling when I'm like, for example, I was submitting that for a film festival then, and when you have to click the genre, I'm not sure if I like to call it fiction or if I want to say that, because it's not a documentary, it's not fiction, it's not docu-fiction, it's I don't know what it is, because it's yeah, so it's, I'm kind of like, I can't even say that it's like fully fiction. And
yeah, because it is real, like it feels real to us. When you have that experience, when you have that life, when you experience that life, it is very real. But at the same time, obviously, this like it's narrated, but it is yes, to us, it's real. That's the reality. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I just want to ask just a couple of more questions, and don't take too much of your time. But I just wanted to see that what was the best advice, Alireza, you ever been given about your, like, as an artist, like professionally, if we speak.
I didn't catch the question exactly. Can you repeat it?
What was the best advice that you've been given as an artist, if you remember, or if I don't know.
Ah, that's a spectacular question. I love it. An advice as an artist, do it.
Just do it.
So easy. And it's much more easier for artists because they can do it more. I don't want to give examples because it's going to be examples. They can do whatever they want. An artist can do anything. You just have to do it.
Just be brave and do it. So is that your advice to younger artists who are just going, just starting their career, they're just even just thinking about it? Is that your advice to the younger generation?
Well, I have more information as a photographer. I would like to say for young photographers that I also was young, and I researched. I had a dream that I really wanted to photography, or I had some imaginary frames in my mind. I made all of them. It's easy. You need to do it. I can't. I just don't want to say some difficult word. I just don't want to say difficult sentence because they're young, and it's easy. Just have to do it.
Just be patient.
It is possible.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much, Rojin. Did you ever receive any sort of like advice that was quite so I don't know how to explain, but was substantial in your way of your practice, in your art, did something to you that otherwise wouldn't happen?
Yeah, mine is kind of close to Alireza, because for this toaster, when I wanted to work on the transitions, or like what they call it, the passage, I was doing my bachelor, and I had this professor, Nelson Henriks, is like quite well known in Canada. And then I remember I was so stressed. I didn't know what to do with all those footages. And I emailed him, and I was like, I have to make an appointment with you because I'm confused. I don't know what to do. Like the deadline is coming soon and I have to present my work. And then he was like, sure, like that time in my office. And I was like, okay. I went there, And then I was like, I'm a very like stressed person. So I was like, I want to do this, I want to do that, and this, and then I don't know if that works. And then Nelson was like, I think you should do it. Worst case scenario, it doesn't work. And that was the like the whole meeting, like I was doing la, and then he was like, I still remember his shoulders, like he was like, I think you should do it. That's it. And I would say that like being a perfectionist, as I was or I am a perfectionist, it's just stopped you from making works. And I would say just let yourself to make mistakes, let yourself to make bad arts, because this is how good arts come from. And as our maestro Kiarostami says, like just look at the kids, like they build all those Legos and they destroy them, and they're like, okay, so we're gonna make a new one. And like they don't care, like they just do their drawings, they don't care what the other drawings look like, or which they don't go through their notebook and look at like which drawing was the best, or if they can draw or they can't draw, they just draw. And I feel like that's very, very important.
Brilliant. What great answers. Thank you very much. Do you have any questions from each other? No. That's brilliant. Thank you very much. Let me see if there is any other question coming through. But thank you very much for taking time. I utterly enjoyed watching your works, and I need to mention that Alireza's work is actually on Artsy. If you don't have access to go to visit, you can actually visit them online. And in case you would like to purchase. The good thing about the Foundation 3/19/2072 is that all the proceeds from the sales of these artworks will go straight to the artists, and which is amazing. Thank you again. Thank you very much for taking time and speaking with me today. Alireza, it's a pleasure to meet you. And wonderful, it's amazing what you're doing, and I wish you all the best, and I hope to see you one day in European Parliament. And Rojin, really pleasure, it was great to speak with you, and really lovely to meet you both.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for taking the time to speak with me. I learned a lot about you and your work. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah.
Thank you.
Thank you.